like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home. Party, party, we like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to episode 25 of the Ball Talk Pod. Tonight, we're going to recap the Thunder's last couple of games, huge matchups with the Charlotte Hornets and the Los Angeles Clippers. And we're going to touch on
equally good teams,
the
those two
NCAA
teams.
tournament and give a recap of the opening weekend. And by recap, I mean talk about how bad our brackets are. But first, we're going to kick it off with our weekly segment, the news of the week, which Chris is leading us into some pretty big OU news. So, Chris, take it away, man.
Well, my OU news is about
You're muted.
I'm not muted. You can't hear me? I don't know why.
Chris's news of the week has him speechless.
No, I think it's on you.
It's crazy.
I'm pretty sure it's you because I can.
He's still speechless.
Ben, I think it's you. I think
lost
it's
him.
you. I think it's you. It's not me. It's not me.
How is
It's
it?
you.
I can't hear you.
I know. I think it's. I'm showing up. I think it's your thing. This will be great podcasting. We'll have to listen this back. It was definitely Ben, and I was wondering why he wasn't talking back to me. So can you hear me now?
Yeah. Do you want to restart?
No. You just want to edit it out or what? Or just
I'll
leave
try
it in.
We'll probably just leave it in, and I'll edit out what we need to. But
Okay.
little snafu. Chris, take it away with the news of the week, man. What? Because I haven't heard any of it.
News of the week.
Take two.
Take two. The news of the week is the only good thing going on at OU now is the women. The
You're
women's
married.
sports teams are the only good thing to go on at OU at this time. Softball's rolling, gymnastics team's always rolling, and the basketball team has made it to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2013. Ben, let's give a round of applause. Round of applause. Don't clap into the mic.
We're already off to a hot start with this podcast, so might as well.
Yeah. They dominated Iowa on Monday. Just really kicked them in the dirt. Not even Caitlin Clark could have saved their ass.
Which is Coach Baranchek's alma mater as well.
I did not know that. Makes it even better. I went to the game they played against
Florida Gulf Coast.
And they're a big physical team. They'll post up anybody. They're a lot of fun to watch. They play kind of a older style of basketball, really feeding the post, feeding Reagan Beers. It is.
They play pretty quick though. They get up a lot of shots.
They try to feed it in really fast, and it's essentially like a one move to the basket, and she makes it, and they go play defense. I mean, they were a lot of fun to watch. In and out, hockey subs most of the day. Lots of good guard play as well. I thought they were strong with the ball, really good passing and good shooting on the outside too, which I think really showed up in the Iowa game. Secondarily to that, they just landed the number one recruit in the country. She announced her decision between OU and Texas today, and she chose Oklahoma. Jenny Baranchek is building a monster down in Norman. Watch out, SEC.
Are you afraid to try to pronounce her name? Is that what you have to say?
Every time I'm afraid to pronounce her name, and I think every time I've said it, I pronounced it differently. So
I think it's Aaliyah Chavez.
What?
Aaliyah Chavez is the recruit's name.
Oh, no, I was talking
Are
about
you also talking about Jenny Baranchek?
I was talking about Jenny Baranchek. Yeah. Leah Chavez, a number one recruit in the nation out of Lubbock, chose OU over, I'm assuming, Texas Tech, but Texas and
Texas.
OU. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really big win for the Sooner State, really big win for the program. And the girls' programs at OU are just rolling. They're really good.
I mean, she's the level of recruit that takes a good program that Jenny's already built into that next tier of you should expect to go to a Final Four next year and potentially compete for a national championship because not only does she come in, she shoots the ball well. She averaged over 35 a game, led her team to the state championship. She was the National Gatorade Player of the Year. you add that into, you return 4 starters. You mentioned Reagan Beer. That team next year is going to be fun to watch. I texted my wife after the announcement and I said, I don't know if you ever thought you'd hear me say this, but we're going to a few women's basketball games next year. Go ahead and put it on the calendar.
I had a great time at the one I went to. The NCAA tournament, they played like I talked about, they played a really feisty Florida Gulf Coast, but they were a good team. I'll definitely be going back next year.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Hopefully the boys can have some juice too, so we can go watch some boys games too. But the girls team, lots of fun to watch. It's kind of a stark contrast between 2022 when they got blown out by Notre Dame in the round of 32, and to go and just dominate Iowa is pretty sweet.
She is building, like I texted a few people today. It's like the women's conditions, the condition of the women's sports on OU's campus is night and day better than the men's sports right now. And mainly that's the big ones. I mean, OU baseball is on a great run right now. They're actually playing right now. They're winning. They've won their first 2 SEC series. Men's gymnastics is always competitive. Football and basketball haven't been great. Wrestling's average.
The men's loud sports are doing poorly. Yeah,
they're very quiet.
Well,
but you have women's basketball, you have softball, gymnastics. I mean, it's a great time to be at OU for reasons other than I'm sure the current student body would have expected whenever they came.
Yeah.
But I think you get on to me all the time. Let's just let that flow into the coming football season.
The feel
it's just good vibes only.
I feel pretty positive about football still, and I always do. But it's
starting. It's
starting to build, and it's pretty early this year. Usually it's in the summer after basketball.
I think it's early because of how bad last year was. So you were like, I don't want to hold on to last year at all. I'm immediately going to start.
I let it go. You're right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
But I'm starting a little earlier this year. Maybe I was wrong last year. Maybe I need to be better as a fan. And that will propel our team to a national championship next year. Sorry to my wife, because I'm going to be a better fan this year.
A little late for New Year's resolutions, but we'll take them when it comes to OU football. But yeah, all that to say, OU women's basketball, what a story. On the court and off the court, Coach Jenny is doing something. But moving on to my news of the day, I'm switching up to a sport that we have not really talked about. At least no, this is not a hockey podcast. At least on the level of professional baseball. Major League Baseball has their opening day Thursday afternoon. It has been a long time coming since the Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series.
I have a question.
Well,
I guess this is the Dodgers have played a series.
Correct.
And they have played a lot of games. So why is opening day so much after the first game been?
Because the Dodgers and the Cubs opened the season in Tokyo this year, mainly because the Dodgers and Cubs have 4 of the highest profile Japanese players that have ever come over to Major League Baseball. And so they sent them over there to play 2 games that did count towards the regular season. So I guess it is more domestic opening day on Thursday. But
the Dodgers have played the Angels as well.
That is an exhibition.
What?
I swear.
Why would they play a regular season game and then an expedition game?
Just for timing, and like they go early so that they can get back into their routine. Once they get back over here, give guys on the right pitch counts and things like that. But all that to say, Major League Baseball is back. It's going to be a 162 game season where we might talk about it a little bit. We might talk about it a lot of bit, but whatever I can get home and throw baseball on the TV, that's a good time for me. And I'm just excited for it to start. The Dodgers are probably going to win it again. But watch out for the Texas Rangers, man. They had a bad year last year. Ben
is a big seam head. He's on like 5 or 6 different fantasy baseball teams. It's all
I haven't cut to one. That's
the only thing he talks about during the summer. So you have to kind of avoid him at pool parties. But other than that, he's a good hang.
I thought you had to avoid me at pool parties because of how big my cannonball splash is. But
that's right. Clear the area. He drains pools. This boy drains pools every cannonball.
and you got to fill it back up. But
we have
there you have it. Nothing crazy for me. I just wanted to give baseball its due. It's back this week. My New Year's resolution on this podcast was going and getting a hot dog at a baseball game. I did
we
not
will do that
last year. So
we will do that.
There you have it.
There's some more news for us Oklahoma City Thunder fans. Russell Westbrook becomes the NBA's 20th all-time leading scorer. And as we know, Russell Westbrook, Thunder legend. He scored 18,859 points with the Thunder of his total 26 and 72,000 points. So shout out to Russell Westbrook. Big accomplishment from a guy who still bleeds the blue. So really cool. Really cool.
It is cool. And he scored a lot of those points in Oklahoma City. But speaking of the Thunder, it's time to talk Thunder basketball.
Thunder.
Which they are currently on the longest win streak in the NBA with 6 games in a row. The last we talked to you, they had just beaten the hapless Philadelphia 76ers. And since we've talked, they have beaten the hapless Charlotte Hornets.
Yes.
And a pretty pesky Clippers team, which we did not have Chet or J-Dub. But
full strength Clippers team.
Sunday night was a good basketball game to watch. It was.
Yeah.
But Chris, I was not in attendance on Friday. I was out of town. Shout out to our buddy Breek. But what are our thoughts about that Hornets game? Is there anything to take away from it?
I think there's nothing really to take away from it besides like it's a team you should beat by a lot, even without J-Dub and Lou Dort didn't play. So you're just like, there's not a lot to take away except that it's a bad team. You should beat them. They sat a ton of their guys. A guy I was really hoping to see was Trey Mann, but Trey Mann sat, so we didn't get to see Trey Mann. They didn't play Lonzo Ball or LaMelo Ball. They didn't play. Who else did they play? They didn't play somebody else too. But
Bridges played, right?
Yeah, Bridges played.
Mark Williams.
Mark Williams. They didn't play. That's who it was. And so like they played a lot of like two-way guys, lots of rookies. Josh Green, who was on Dallas. Did he leave Dallas just last year, or was he traded?
I believe he left. He was a part of trades in the offseason.
Okay, because he's a good defender. I thought he played pretty well, or he's an okay defender. I thought he played well, shot the ball well. Miles Bridges, he's fine. He's like, he should be better than he is, I think. Taj Gibson, if you didn't know, is still in the league. So they just had like a mishmash of guys that just like didn't really play.
They are begging for Cooper Flag.
They are on the Cooper Flag hunt. So it was a fine game. Shea had 30. Cason Wallace again played really well. 5 assists from him and 11 points.
Still no Dub, and Chet was out too.
Right. No, Chet played. Chet had 14 points.
Oh yeah. I was looking at
5 rebounds, 1 of 2 from 3 blocks. Just a really diverse, impactful game from Chet. Isaiah Hartenstein again handled the point. It's just like, it's good to see all these things kind of flush out against a bad team that you just go take care of business. So not much to say.
I think
the other
biggest
big thing
go ahead
was that Adam Flagler hit a 3. He was 1 for 2. So shout out to Adam Flagler for hitting another 3. 2 games in a row, actually, he hit a 3 because he hit a 3 after Jalen Williams' 10th assist. That got him the triple double, and he hit a 3 tonight. So 2 games in a row, he's on a hot streak. Rest of the league, watch out.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway from it, and like a grand scheme of it, and people have talked about it, it's almost just because of the youth and how like people aren't taking them seriously, regardless of now having a 2-game lead on not just the best record in the Western Conference, but in the entire NBA. This team does not play down to its competition. And that happens often, not just in basketball, but across all professional sports, especially in a season where, like we've talked about it, the Thunder have a 13.5 game lead in their conference. They have nothing to play for outside of potential home court advantage in the finals. which they kind of already have locked up on the Celtics. It's really just the Cavs that they're worried about. They're just not taking nights off, which is, I think, one, appreciate it now, because hypothetically the Thunder go on to win the championship, whether it be this year, next year, the year after, whatever. As you start kind of tasting that success, or you play longer into the NBA playoffs, the regular season almost feels like it doesn't mean as much to them, because they kind of know what they're gearing up for. Whereas this team, obviously, they want to announce that they're here, and they are still working through stuff with Chet coming back and some of the injuries that they've had. So it makes sense. But I definitely they're on pace to, if they win out, which I saw that they are plus 700 in odds to win out.
Oh, wow.
Which there's 11 games left. It would put them at 70 wins. The franchise record is 60. And we talk about the glory days with the Thunder and all that we got to experience with KD and Russ and Harden and those fantastic teams. These teams are putting, they're not anything currently compared to what we're seeing right now.
Right.
Like, I was listening to a podcast today down in Duck, and they were like, if you put up this year's team, even against last year's team, which was the first seed in the West due to a tiebreaker, but they won 57 games. This year's team absolutely wrecks last year's team just because of the development of everyone around. And then obviously you had Hartenstein.
Yeah.
But,
and they love to compete, is what Mark kept saying the other night. They just love to compete, which is
regardless of who's on the other side.
Good for like any
That's
team.
That's a culture piece, baby. That's good culture.
Good culture. The mentality to go out to compete is just such a winning mentality, and it's just so nice to have a team, unlike the Hornets, who are out there trying to lose games,
Yeah. Which we've been there. So can't complain. But Thunder win that game big, nothing too crazy. We're moving on to a little recap of Sunday night's game, which the Thunder did win in LA against the Clippers. They had, let me see, I was just getting the final score up. 103-101 was the final score. Victory for the Thunder. In the first game this year, the Thunder won by 3 points or less.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. We were 0-4 this year in games decided by 3 points or less, which goes to show how dominant this team has been. I mean, they have a potential to break the NBA record for most double-digit wins in a season, which I'll look that up and get back to you guys on for the next pod. But it was kind of a, I almost say playoff-ish game where, it was Shea's worst shooting night by far of the season. He was 7 of 29 for 26 points. 29 shots to get 26 points when you're, I believe 11 of 11 from the free throw line. That's an ugly game.
Ugly
game. But he had 8 assists. He was still getting everybody involved. Chet was out. Dub was out. The big story, I think, was one Mr. Alex Caruso, who was the only player, at least on the Thunder that I know, that scored in the last 2.5 minutes of the game. And he just took control. He had a big 3 in the corner. He got a steal, which then he hit 1 of 2 on the layups. He got fouled on that. And then Kawhi Leonard played 40 minutes, and he was cooking on that. And he took the assignment late. It was kind of cool to see because at one point, the starting lineup was Shea, Dort, Kaysen, Alex Caruso, and Hartenstein, which might be the best defensive lineup, or at least the best 3 guards you can put in a defensive lineup in the NBA. And Caruso ended up kind of taking the main assignment on Kawhi, but then there was a picture of Kawhi's last shot to tie the game, and all 3 of those guys were around him.
Yeah.
Which has to be just the most nightmare scenario. The most nightmare scenario for a player is those 3 guys around them.
Well, I want to talk about that a little more because the fear I have going into the playoffs is that we're not in enough scenarios. There was a game maybe before Christmas where we were playing and Alex Caruso fouled somebody that he wasn't supposed to foul.
It's a Timberwolves game. It's the game we blew 20 points.
Right. And so and he fouled somebody, they went and shot free throws and they ended up winning the game, right? And not because they fouled, but in situations, when to foul and who to foul, those situations you don't get to go through the season if you're if you're beating teams by 20, right? So my big fear is that we won't have those situations to practice and learn from. But watching the final 2 minutes, it felt like like they've had those games all year. It felt so natural the way that Alex Caruso fouled, like on the second to last, or the last second shot, he fouled Kawhi Leonard to go shoot 2 instead of 3. We were up 3, so it's the perfect foul. He didn't get a shot off. Kawhi had to miss one, and we just tipped it out and won. Right, so things like that. But then again, it's like that defensive player talking about. Shea was like, Kaysen was guarding James Harden, who had the ball, passed it to Kawhi. Kawhi was guarded by AC with Dort in the corner guarding Norm Powell. And so Kaysen was guarding, after James Harden passed to Kawhi Leonard, Shea came up and told Kaysen to go double. And it was and he like pushed him up. It's like, I got you. And they did like this rotation on the back end that screams, we've been through this. We understand how to make winning plays at the end of the
game.
They
know how to get one stop.
Right. And I was just like, that's such it takes it gives me breath, because it's like, they know what to do at the end of the game. I'm not worried that they haven't been there, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So I just like things like that were really impressive to see in kind of a rock fight.
Yeah, like we said, 103 to 101. Wiggs came in, had 19. I don't think he just shot it great, but he at least scored a little bit. It's crazy that we're talking about an off night for Shea, and he had 26 and 8. And he's currently he's 1 game shy of tying
he's tying
Kevin Durant.
Or he tied Kevin Durant. That was this game.
Yeah, 64th game in a row that he scored over 20 points, which the next people to do it are like Wilt Chamberlain in the list. I think he's tied for 4th.
It was what Michael Jordan is at like 69. Oscar Robinson's at like 70 something.
And then Wilt did it twice.
Wilt did it twice at like 80 or something.
Yeah.
Something
but
crazy.
Like for a guard in today's NBA to have that, the level of consistency. I mean, that's why he's like negative 1,000 odds now to win the MVP. Like, he has won it.
Mm-hmm.
He could not play the rest of the year. He has won the MVP. But it's just an off night from him. I think Hartenstein played really well. Hartenstein obviously is, just a phenomenal signing. I'm going to say that until I forget it when I have Alzheimer's late in my life or can't have bad memory.
Hartenstein was such a good hire.
That's going to be me in the home, in the old folks home. But it was just an exciting game for the reasons that you said, in terms of you saw them execute. I don't know. They played tonight. It was just announced that Dub's out again, but he is on the trip. He did travel to LA, and then he was in he's in Sacramento right now, but he went through pregame warmups. He's not going to play. Kaysen and Wiggins are also out tonight, just for I think just rest.
Yeah.
Like the injury report will say Achilles tendonitis or
another hip impingement.
Yeah. Like something like that. But we got the Kings literally coming up in 18 minutes. But it's just a good time. The team is obviously locked in. If they win tonight, they will tie the franchise record for most wins in the season at 60. They will be surpassing that, and this will be the best regular season in Thunder history. And I can't wait until we can talk about playoff basketball, because I was talking to Alex. I went to the 76ers game with him last week, and it was like the trade deadline to the end of the season, and pretty much the All-Star game to the end of the season is like a dead period for basketball. Everyone's kind of surviving to get to the finish line. The Thunder obviously have been resting guys and kind of experimenting with lineups and things like that. Other teams obviously are positioning for seeding and draft picks, but the Thunder have just kind of been coasting and still winning, which is crazy. But yeah, they have the Kings tonight. The Kings are currently 9th in the West, which they're pretty locked into that 9-10 matchup, I guess, in the play-in. They're 5 games back from the 8th spot.
Yeah,
so
it'd be hard.
So they're still playing for stuff because obviously, like, Dallas is tanking, but AD came back. They're at 24.5 games back. The Suns are at 24.5 back. They've won 4 in a row. They've looked decent. Kings have lost 3 in a row. This 9-10 matchup is one to watch for the Thunder just because the Thunder will play one of 3 teams in the play-in. They will play the loser of the 7-8 game, which currently it's the Clippers and Timberwolves in that. And then the winner of the 9-10 game will go on to play the loser of the 7-8 game, and that is who the winner of that game is the Thunder's first round opponent. I think it's pretty safe to say that it's going to be the Clippers or Timberwolves. And I think I would go out on a limb to say it won't be the Timberwolves because I don't think the Timberwolves would lose to the Clippers. It's a 1-game thing, but that's just
anything can happen in those series. So you never know, especially in the NBA when you talk about shot variance. Sacramento King could get really hot. Kevin Durant could go off for 50. Those things can happen, and they can.
I would be okay with it as long as it's not the Timberwolves. Whatever happens, so that the Timberwolves are not our first round matchup.
Right, I
would appreciate that. The West standings, which we haven't really checked in on at least in a week or two, are getting a little interesting in terms of seeding because the last we talked about it, it felt like it was pretty locked into who the 2-3 were, who the 4-5. Since that time, they've changed. So, as it currently stands, it's the Rockets in 2nd, the Nuggets 3rd, Lakers 4th, Grizzlies 5th, Warriors 6th. The Rockets do kind of feel like they're pulling away into the 2nd seed, which is interesting. I would love to have them in a 4-5. Because I don't think they have like the offensive engine to go win a playoff series. But as it currently would stand, and you would avoid Denver, you would avoid the Warriors, and then obviously whoever plays Houston until the conference finals. Because as it currently would shake out, the Thunder would play the play-in team as we mentioned, and then the 4-5 is the Lakers and Grizzlies, which. Not worried about the Grizzlies. We play them on Thursday, but again, they don't scare me. And secondly, we do play the Lakers twice here in a couple weeks in Oklahoma City, which is the first time we'll have played them since the Luka trade. But I also just think we match up. Like, I think this team is so matchup not dependent. Like, I can't think of the proper term, but like they can adjust to whoever's on the other side of the court with the 2 bigs and then all the talent in the guard position. None of that really scares me. I don't know how you feel about it, but
the Lakers specifically,
we'll start with the Lakers, but just general anyway.
I think the Lakers have a lot of good offensive weapons. I think Dalton Connect is a guy who can like spark. If you don't want to talk about the main guys like LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, I feel like Dalton Connect can be like kind of a guy, but it's all offense for them. They gave up a ton of points to the Bulls and Josh Giddey. Like they don't play defense. They're just not very defensively sound. Don't have a big rim protector. They just like
LeBron has been out, which I'll give him that, but that team shouldn't give up 140 plus to Chicago.
I don't think he fixes their defense. A 40-year-old LeBron doesn't really fix their defense in a playoff series, do you think?
No. He can go win you a game.
Right.
But I don't think he can win you a series with his current. He can if he has a team around him that fits him, which I think next year, if you give the Lakers an offseason to try to build around Luka and LeBron, then you like next year I will be more scared of the Lakers next year than I currently am.
True. Yeah.
Even with LeBron getting a year older.
I don't, like you said, I think Timberwolves and the Nuggets, I'd like to avoid them the first 2 rounds just with all we can. So that's kind of where I stand on the standings. I don't fear many other people like you do. I don't have that fear in my heart for those teams like you do. Like, I don't think you do either. So it's like, whatever.
No, it's just like if the Thunder play basketball, they should. I was thinking about it today, and they've only lost back-to-back games, I believe, once this year, and it was the week that we did not have a 7-footer. It was we lost to Dallas and then went to San Antonio and lost without Wemby.
Yes, which was a weird game.
Very weird game. But I was thinking about, I was like, we haven't even lost 2 in a row since then.
Right.
And you're telling me we have to lose 4 out of 7 to get bounced?
Yeah.
Like I just it's so hard to imagine that. And that's a biased take, and I don't really care because that's how good this team's been. Which is gonna be crushing if they do lose.
Oh, it's gonna be really, really, really sad.
But all that to say, I just think right now it's almost like it's more fun. I don't care about seeding. Like we're, I think April like 13th is the last day of the regular season, and that's the day I'll kind of like that. Those last couple days I'll check to kind of see
because it seems like it's gonna be mixing up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like 3 or 4 teams are tied or within a game or 2 of each other.
Right.
And there's still matchups between those individual teams that will shift it majorly.
Right.
So, but it's almost like, okay, let me just check in on the Sixers pick, or let me check in on the Heat and how they're doing. You know, stuff like that is almost more exciting to me than watching anything outside of just the Thunder playing. Which, with that, just a little update, the Heat have they're at 10th in the East, which is, if they can stay there, that would be awesome, because then we would have to have them, they'd have to win 2 games to make the playoffs. And as a reminder, we do not want them to make the playoffs, because then their pick becomes unprotected next year. They're kind of in cap hell. They paid players that just aren't that level of superstar that help you go deep in the playoffs. The East isn't very good, so it's not like it's a guarantee. But we don't want them to make the playoffs, is my take. But even with that, if they did make the playoffs, they'd be the 8th seed most likely. And if they lost that game, you're probably looking at the 15th overall pick, which is still, Presti's going to do something with that, whether that be a player or trade or whatever. It's really a win-win situation either way. The Sixers, they are currently... oh man, they're 23-49. They've lost 5 in a row. Let me pull up Tankathon.
Yeah, pull it up. Let's see where they are. What are their odds to get us a really good pick?
So according to Tankathon, they currently have the 5th worst odds in the NBA. Or 5th worst record.
5th worst odds for what?
To win the championship.
Yeah.
But they, let's see, they're currently tied with Brooklyn. Toronto's 2 games back. But I'm just going to do a little sim just to see, are the Thunder picking? They dropped to 6th.
So the Thunder,
so we're going to sim again.
Let's sim again. Give us another one.
They moved up to 3rd. Give me another one.
No.
3.
It's getting worse. Third time's a charm.
3rd again.
Oh no.
4th time.
Fourth time.
We got the 7th pick.
Nice.
But yeah, it's
think Cooper Flag can drop to the 7th pick?
You never know.
You never know.
We need to do I don't know if you remember, but there was a guy, Laramie Tunzel, before the draft. He was an NFL prospect.
Oh yeah.
There's a picture leaked of him smoking a bong, and it tanked his value. And so I think we need to get Cooper Flag
AI
some marijuana.
Yeah.
But
not a bad play.
Yeah. Those are kind of the main things. We have the Clippers pick too, which will be probably like late teens, early 20s. But yeah, that's kind of your Thunder recap. That's where they're at. We're just kind of coasting to the end of the season and ready to just start talking some playoff basketball. But I will say, lastly, one thing that's super funny, ESPN and everybody has been hyping up Jimmy Butler's return to Miami, which is currently going on. And he even came out and said something along the lines of like, am I the problem, or are you seeing what they're still doing and they're bad, and or are they the problem kind of thing?
Right.
The Miami Heat are currently beating the Golden State Warriors 109-81. Which I find hilarious.
Very funny.
It does not help the Thunder. It does get the Heat a win. But for the sake of just a little bit of drama, it's nice to see.
It's nice to see. Nice to see.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Chris and I are going to wrap it up a little short tonight. We got a Thunder game to watch.
You want to talk about the first weekend of March Madness?
I think I forgot because of how bad my bracket is.
Our brackets have been busted.
Everyone in our group that listens to this podcast and didn't do what we said are looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Looking pretty good. Let's see. My main one is currently 56th percentile. I mean,
I'm in the 32nd percentile. Not good. I had
20th in
Clemson
the
going
group.
to the Final Four like we talked about, and it just
I had
did not
Louisville in the lead. My bracket was busted the first game.
I did have Creighton, I will say. I picked that whole series right. Auburn, Creighton, Auburn. That felt pretty good.
Fair. That's fair. But yeah, honestly, kind of a low-key March Madness weekend. Like, there wasn't a lot of upsets. It went pretty chalk.
Not very many great games. The only really upsets were like the biggest upsets were 5 versus 12s. You know, we had McNeese.
But some of those were like the 12 seed was favored. Like it wasn't even like that big of a upset.
Yeah, it just felt. I mean, the biggest upset we had really this last weekend was Arkansas versus St. John's.
Yeah,
but that's Calipari, so it's like he's a good coach. He can get you. He can move you
win
forward.
you a game.
Yeah, and so
For
I
sure.
mean, Colorado State 12 seed beat Memphis. Just not a lot of great basketball. Even the games that were played weren't like close.
The Colorado State team almost advanced to the Sweet 16. Maryland hit a buzzer beater to beat them.
Yeah,
which was probably the best game of the first weekend.
Yeah, it just like felt like they talked about all this parity in college basketball, but it didn't.
Historically,
feel that
it's
way.
there, but this is the first tournament in a while where it's like, no. I mean, looking at it right now, the seeds that have advanced to the Sweet 16, the 16 left, are 1-5-6-2, 1-4-3-10, 1-4-6-2, 1-4-3-2.
Yeah,
There's one double-digit seed. And 2 6 seeds that have advanced. Everything else was chalk.
which is just goes against the word madness. It was just it's March as expected.
Yeah, I mean, it was still fun to watch. You know, I was on a bachelor party, and it was great to have it on and talk about it, and it was still fun. But you just didn't have the 13 seed hitting a buzzer beater to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fine. Which, all that to say, people have brought up the point. It leads to a very exciting weekend of basketball this weekend because you don't have Duke playing
McNeese
State, or like a 12 seed.
I gotcha.
So there should be some great games. I mean,
we're due for some great games.
All 1 seeds advanced. I kind of still like. I say my bracket sucked. All 4 of my Final Four teams are still in it. So sorry to rub salt in the wound with your Clemson pick, but I got Michigan State advancing still, which they got Auburn, Michigan, and Ole Miss. They got to get through Ole Miss first. Florida, I have advancing, which
that's my champion.
They had a scare. Florida had a scare. UConn played them tight.
Yep.
And then Duke, I think, is currently playing like the best team with Cooper back and healthy.
Yeah.
And then probably the most enticing bracket left or region is the Midwest, which is the one that went full chalk, and it's Houston, Purdue, Tennessee, and Kentucky, 1, 2, 3, 4 left. Yeah. But so we're going to see a lot of good basketball this weekend. Hopefully it kind of makes up for some of the duds we got in the first round and second round. But
right.
Hey, enjoy it now.
There's only 1 seed upset in that whole Midwest bracket. It was Clemson lost to McNeese State. Everything else, the higher seed won.
That's honestly insane.
That's pretty crazy.
That is so insane. But yeah. Well, there you have it. There's your recap. We'll be back later this week. We can talk a little bit more preview of this weekend, who we got advancing. We'll have some Thunder obviously play tonight. We'll be back with that. We're going to talk a bit more some insight into what we think of some of the playoff matchups and whatever else we come up with in the next couple days. But appreciate you all for struggling through the beginning of this podcast when my headset just decided to not work. And by decided not to work, it was operator error for sure.
Operator error.
Yeah, that. But with that, we're going to head out, watch some Thunder basketball.
Thunder up.
Appreciate y'all. We'll see you next time. See you.
All night long.